Hi, my name is Kai and I'd like to briefly talk about the relevance of home gateways and open source for the interoperability in the smart home. Now, if you look at the current market landscape, you will find an abundance of different protocols, standards, and systems out there. This is clearly an issue for the interoperability between devices. Now, how to solve this problem? Well, there is a fairly easy answer. Let's get together, define a universal standard, have any device implement that, and interoperability is solved, right? The problem with that approach is that too many people actually believe in it and follow exactly this path. This has led to an ever increasing number of new consortiums, alliances, and standards over the past years. And if you look at that chart, you will see that there's no market consolidation in sight yet. So as a matter of fact, we actually have to deal with that diversity and make interoperability work nonetheless. What do we exactly understand when we talk about interoperability? Well, first of all, there is the data that is exchanged between the devices. So, for example, you have to define how to represent a color value in binary form. Next, there's the interaction model because devices need to do handshake, they need to authenticate, they need to send events to one another, and this can be very different between different kinds of systems. Last but not least, the semantic model is very important for the application layer. So that means that you need to have a common understanding of what a certain operation actually means. So if a device is able to be turned on and off, it's vitally important to know whether this is a light or maybe a security system. Now, to implement all this interoperability within the devices themselves is simply not feasible. The devices are usually constrained, so they might just have a certain radio protocol, they can't do any other. And altogether, the permutations of what has to be implemented in them, it's simply not possible to do. The much better approach is to have a central hub that acts as an integration point and does the translation between the different protocols and systems and makes them interoperate. There are approaches that try to offer such a hub functionality within the cloud, like works with Nest or IFTTT, by reaching out to the different cloud services of the vendors. Now, for a smart home solution, this is not an ideal architecture because you're fully dependent on the internet and on all the different cloud services. And if one goes down, your reliability really suffers. Now, from my point of view, the better approach is to have this hub functionality within your local network. And I like the term the intranet of things for that. Now, such a local hub functionality is usually called a home gateway. Such a home gateway needs to have a very modular software architecture in order to be easily extensible for new kinds of protocol and devices. As it is almost impossible for a single company to build all those modules on its own, it is vitally important to have a developer community built around such an ecosystem. Now, how do you attract developers? So what is an IoT developer doing if he wants to get started in that field? Well, most likely he's going to get some piece of open hardware, like for example a Raspberry Pi. He might take some Arduino boards, starts playing with that, plugging stuff together, building first prototypes, and so on. Now, what is he running on top of this hardware? Well, most likely this will be open software, like Linux being the most widespread operating system for IoT purposes. There are also the web standards, there are Apache projects, and at the Eclipse Foundation, there is a whole bunch of open source projects dedicated to IoT. To check that open source really attracts developers, you can check out Google Trends for the MQTT protocol that had been developed as a proprietary solution by IBM in 1999 and was open sourced in 2013, and since then has become a kind of de facto standard for communication in the IoT. Now that you've learned that home gateways and open source are important ingredients for a successful smart home solution, I'm here to tell you that the Eclipse Smart Home project is an open source project for building home gateways. Now, Eclipse Smart Home not only deals with the communication aspects, it also handles automation rules, persistence of data, and all kinds of other things. And it is already successfully used in different kinds of solutions. And I'd just like to highlight two very successful ones of them where I'm personally involved. The first is the commercial KiwiCon platform that is offered by Deutsche Telekom. The second is OpenHub, which is one of the most popular smart home solutions for the DIY space. And with that, I very much thank you for your attention.